Welcome to Grit and Ground. We bring you different types of movement through guest experts from the local scene as they share their insights, their passion, and how they find their balance.
Hello, GG fam. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode from Grit and Ground, where we feature different movement specialists and talk about fitness, mindfulness, and everything else in between. So I'm Car, and co-hosting with me is Joy, and also Ned as our creative director. So today, actually, we're gonna talk about learning the ropes to find your flow. I know that during this quarantine, I think a lot of people are exploring different things. Like maraming naging baker, maraming into fitness, like iba-iba yung ginagawa. Like ako personally into music. Ikaw ba, Joy, lately, ano yung mga inaatupag mo?
Being attached to my bed.
Bed.
Or plants, because I've seen a lot of my friends sharing their plants, and then you start to get curious. I have caught on the plantita bug.
Are you a plantita?
Unfortunately, whatever. But yeah, I caught it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so today we have a special guest with us. So he actually nung sinend niya sa akin yung bio niya, it's a lot. So I'm gonna nitpick here a bit. So he's actually a board certified physical therapist in California and the Philippines for 21 years, and a certified strength and conditioning coach by the National Strength and Conditioning Association for 15 years. And then he's also a certified nutrition coach and a functional range conditioning level 1 instructor. So I'll let him talk more kasi ang dami pa sa list. But here with us is Arman Bajacan. Hello!
Hi, thank you, Joy. Thank you, Car, for inviting me. I gotta say, this is my first invite for a podcast. So I feel like I made it. Thank you.
Knowing your bio, I know you made it. Actually,
yes. So excited. So you want me to tell the people something about me? Well, I think starting off as a kid, I'm just curious about movement. I loved watching the circus. I loved watching dancers. Break dancing was a big thing for me, although I was not very good at it. Then the BMX skateboarding scene was amazing when I was a teenager. And then growing up further and trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life during high school, physical therapy was like the obvious choice because it was physical and it was something that I wanted to do without even getting paid. Like it's like something that, hey, I want to do this even though I don't make money. But then you can make money, so it's even better. And then I just went on the whole strength and conditioning. When I moved to California, I worked as an ergonomist as well. I was part of the development board for Google's campus development for their gyms. So I helped set up their gyms, their ergonomic stations for work, as well as their even doctor's clinic. Because at Google, they don't want their employees to leave. They want their employees to stay there 24/7. So it needs to be perfect for their body. And then I went into also nutrition through precision nutrition. And until the COVID happened and everyone's stuck at home, I figured let's do something that we can do at home and encourage social distancing. So I've been experimenting with David Weck's rope or rolling the rope training last September, and it was just a curiosity. I saw a post on Instagram that he was doing this dragon roll, which is kind of like skipping rope, but he's not jumping. So it looked like magic. And I needed to figure out what he was doing, which I did eventually with a lot of instructions from YouTube and Instagram. And then I got lonely because I was the only one doing it. So I started just forcing people to learn it from my staff, from my patients. Like, you know what, let's go roll the rope. And then I met like these two wonderful animal flow people, Afai and Ange, and they started to do it themselves at the gym they're going to at that time. And, we just gathered some interest. And then we had our first experimental class September. And then it grew from there. And then no one was allowed to the gym, so everyone tried to do stuff at home. And one trainer led to another trainer that taught rope flow, and now we're here, 9,000 strong. It's kind of unbelievable. It's really a case study on, marketing development in Instagram,
Yeah.
my opinion, as well as the actual rope flow movement. Right there, I think I went over my answers.
So when did actually rope flow start, like as a movement? And like, can you give us a bit of a background on where it came from, how it started?
Uh, well, I think as a movement, it was developed by, it's called Rolling the Ropes. It's by David Weck, the same person that invented the Bose suits, the half
Mm-hmm.
thrown thing. And he was able to determine that using the rope kind of connects your right and left side. It also was an advantage because you're not skipping the rope. You can move in omnidirections, in multi directions. And because you're not skipping the rope, you're not required to jump. So it's not syncopated. You can move on your own tempo.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you could up and down the tempo or just be in one beat or multiple beats. And it's just transfers easily to athletic movements. And that's what I learned as I got curious because the rope movements are really interesting. A lot of figure eights, a lot of rotation. And when I started in September as looking for adjuncts on different ways to do therapy, um, physical therapy, and was really good for runners because a lot of runners, when they get fatigued, they start moving stiff, and with the row flow, kind of get that figure eight. So there's always a continuous frequency. You don't lose force, always goes to another. So it's this figure eight thing.
Yeah.
And and then it was just fun. It was cool. And when people asked, "Can you teach me? Let's do a class," and I did it in February, and then yeah, it just grew from there.
Mhm.
And,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm just curious, cause what's the main difference, Siguro, if you could shed some light on in terms of the benefits of the movement, rope flow versus using the jump rope? Because I know rope flow you use a thicker material. Yeah, can you expound more on that, Siguro?
Sure. Well, with the jump rope, there's a lot of, like I said earlier, it's syncopated. You
Yeah.
have to pulse and jump over the rope, and it could go to just one plane, front and back, or back and front. Sometimes you do a side-to-side swing, but that's very minimal compared to rope flow. With the thicker rope, you do get a little bit more feedback with the frequency of what the rope is doing to your body and vice versa. You
Mm-hmm.
know, thicker rope, you could get more drag from the air, creates more turbulence. You actually hear,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super fun. And then once you develop the four basic patterns, you could just mix and match those patterns however way you want. And then you add tricks to it, and it becomes more of a creative process. So now you're getting somewhat of a workout, somewhat of a creative drive, and then you get your coordination and a little bit of rehab. Because let's say if you are a desk jockey, you're always like this. In row flow, you gotta learn how to open one shoulder and the other. You need to be upright. It has the infinity or the figure eight has to go through a center. So you need to do this, and it just opens things up for people who are on the desk. So I think you could get cardio benefits as well, much like the jump rope. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's more rehab or therapy component with row flow. And maybe we can talk earlier about the mental benefits, mental health benefits of row flow as well. I'm sure you get mental health benefits from skipping rope, but
Yeah.
I mean, when I look through the reactions of our followers, when they leave their comments, they just say they just feel happy, they feel relaxed, especially now with all this turmoil happening. You can't row flow if you're not focused. And it just takes them away from where they are, these trying times, and to create something. This energy of creation, so liberating, gives you energy back. And
Yeah,
this,
I noticed actually in your stories, like a lot of you, well, I saw Fi's story wherein they use the metronome. So you incorporate beats or music into like the flow, the actual flow. So, yeah, can you talk more about that, Siguro? And how do you structure a class? Like if I were to come to a class, what would I expect?
okay. Okay. Well, what I love about raw flow is, like I said earlier, it has a variability to its beat. You can go fast, you can go slow, much like when you hear music. You know, you have a crescendo, you'll have your, it goes down, when it's ending, when the chorus is happening. You could do that with raw flow because you have a little bit more control of it. You can even stop mid-tempo and then continue like super fast. And the way I see it on a neurophysiologic point of view is that once you develop the four patterns, which, if you are going to do a class, you learn these four patterns, um, it becomes more of a hemisphere, right and left hemisphere work, but it becomes a pattern fixed when it goes to your cerebellum. So it's when you're not thinking, that's when you're doing the flow. And that's where the magic happens. You go in, you learn the patterns, it's more like a left hemisphere action, and then you create it on your own in your head so that you understand it's more of a right. Now that's more of a frontal cortex function. And then it goes to your temporal. So now you're using your senses, the proprioceptive sense, your sense of your hearing, you hear the beat, you feel the beat, your kinesthetic sense, your joint space sense, and when the rope hits you, your tactile sense too. So you do get like a negative feedback. And then you get that ingrained in your brainstem, your cerebellum, and then you start to do it, and then it becomes just an amazing experience. But they say the rope tells you the truth. So what's the greatest thing about it is it is an amazing feedback loop wherein if you're out of sync, if you're uncoordinated, it just hits you. So you do whatever it takes to not hit you. That is to really work on your movement. This is great. It's a great teacher.
Cool. You also work with athletes, right? Because you do
Mhm.
athletes,
Yeah.
so more on sports rehabilitation and all that. So, are there current? I mean, rope flow is fairly new, right? Tama ba? In the
Yeah.
yeah. So, have you guys are there initiatives now working on parang cases or case studies that really study the functional benefit, let's say to performance for athletes using rope flow.
Well, right now, because it's very new, there's really no scientific uh, experimentation or studies done with rope flow.
Mm-hmm.
The people that own the rope flow currently, they've done some proprietary work themselves using the timer, using quantitative, some qualitative, and also observational data. Me personally, I because part of my job, I'm also a strength and conditioning coach for a local varsity high school swim team, and I've used rope flow patterns using a jump rope on them,
Mm-hmm.
and as they're warm up, and what I was told by the swim coach was that like in swimming, I was told that the most efficient swimmer can swim in a cylinder. They don't veer off to that center so they can go the straightest way possible. And that's what the rope gave them. It gave them the coordination between their chests and their hip. So they kind of like this movement. You notice this is like the framework of a figure eight. So they get this movement, their freestyle or their breath get coordinated enough so they don't lose energy. So yeah, that was the observation. I've done it also in rehab for, like I said, runners. When they get fatigued, they lose this nice, beat.
Yeah.
If and then with the rope, you remember it because it's a pattern versus a kind of like, let's say, a rule. It's just a pattern, just a set of. It's a language in the head that the head thinks, knows, and when they remember how to move with the rope, just automatic. Then they're faster. They have less pain, like less shin splints. So yeah, those are my experiences with the benefits of rope training and workflow. I'm still gathering some more stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's fairly new na.
Yeah.
Are there
Yeah.
any contraindications, Arman? Like, have you found maybe people who don't do this if you have X condition?
Okay. Well, I have one patient of ours. She does have a rotator cuff tendonitis, and the doctor has advised her not to raise her arm overhead until it heals. And there are patterns that you will need to raise your arm a little bit above
Yeah.
shoulder. Um, so we precaution them to do that. But otherwise, it's such a non-threatening activity.
Yeah.
I've had my 70-year-old dad, I had Pi's 90-year-old dad just do the ropes, and it's very scalable. That's the best thing. You can down regulate or up regulate the movements as you
Yeah.
see. Yep. I guess yeah, it's for everyone.
Yeah, and
For
it also helps that you're
I think that's the hardest people to teach, but that is what it
right, and it also helps that you're a therapist, right? So I mean, like, big
is.
time. If they feel something, then your background, yeah, functional range conditioning definitely helps. And those
Yes.
things can be heavy, right? Like I saw on your post, you have like what, the baby shark and the shark. They weigh
Yeah.
like 1 kilo and 1.6 kilos. Oh my golly! And you swing that thing around.
I mean, okay. So the guy that made these, my friend Pablo Lagas, he's from Melbourne. As we were developing the community, we wanted as diverse of an application as possible. And up until just this year, a few years before that, there was only one kind of official rolling the rope, which is the RMT rope by David Way. It's only like maybe 450 grams. It was 12 millimeters thick. And it was perfect for his application because you can get the feedback to learn the patterns. But then I told him, and we were having discussions like, look, people's bodies are different, people's skill levels are different. The rope should be different. Rope Flow Philippines started off with a very light rope, like 187-gram rope. And it's really great for learning because if it hits you, it doesn't hurt. 85% of our followers are women, and they have small hands. They have small hands, and a lot of it are very upper body dominant movements, which is also harder for women. So it just complemented them. And then on his end, let's see how we scale it up. So for bigger men, or stronger women, or people who've gone through the scale, give them some options. So we have those 1.6 kilogram ropes, and it's hard. I don't even use it that much because I'm just so into the light ropes, just feeling the movement. But man, if I want to work out, if I want to do a little bit more rotator cuff or shoulder girdle movement, or even thoracic spine feedback, then I grab my heavy rope, and boy, it does tell me, yeah, rotate here, turn here. So yeah, that's how we kind of scaled it. It's much like medicine. You have to have a different dose for the right patient. So that's how, at least as a therapist, that's how I see it. Dosing the rope so that it's appropriate for the flow work.
Yeah, it's good that they have options, so it depends on the capacity of the person, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so question, you also said kanina na parang predominantly parang more of upper body movement siya. So, meron din ba for like on the lower body portion naman? Like how do you do the variations or what are the different moves also? Or is it
So
focused above?
what is the center of row flow is they call it igniting your spinal engine. There's a concept called coiling the core, which is basically if you are say if this is a there is a string, right? Imagine this is a spring. We're like this at rest. Now if you're ready to move, like much like a snake ready to bite, they coil, right? When you coil, all right, you have all this potential for kinetic energy ready to move. So it starts from the core where you kind of coil, you start here, and then you release it. Now that coil happens up and down the chain. Happens from the core up your body and from the core down to your legs. Because the rope implement is held by the hand, and by default, you kind of need to learn the hand patterns. As far as the footwork is concerned, you get a lot of coordination and shifting your weight and getting the feel of the steps through the row flow. Because you can't do your transitions between left and right, front and back. You can lunge while doing row flows. You can do squats. They even jump and jump through it most of the time, and they're doing some lateral. So yeah, there's a lot of applications up and down the chain, but it does start at the center.
Mm-hmm. Okay, actually. So basically that answer kasi someone asked what are all possible uses of rope flow in terms of performance, optimization, and expression. Parang
Okay.
yun na rin yun na. Or would you want to add something?
Well, okay, so the rope patterns can be more classified into just two categories, which is overhand, which is like this, and an underhand. I don't know if the camera can see it. So
Yeah.
overhand. Okay. I'll start with the underhand. This underhand pattern relates a lot to locomotion because this is where you start to walk or run. There's also an underhand pattern when you fight, like doing a uppercut or blocking. A lot of, let's say, tennis when you do a backhand or a front hand. Golf is an underhand. Okay, overhand or this way. Works a lot on, let's say, crawling patterns, climbing, do overhand, you throw, all right, and swimming. That's a lot of overhand pattern. So almost parallels a lot of the things we do either on a day-to-day basis or in sports because as we know, sports in general and athletic performance, it's never one plane. It's always multiple planes you're moving at any given time. What the rope does, it allows you to be ready on those movements at all times because you train for those, right? Let's say a squat. Squat is a straight leg, front leg, and sagittal. This it's never one. So if you draw a line to it, it's almost like crisscrossing. Yeah. So yeah, a lot. I say all. Minus sleep. But yeah, if you're human and you're moving, the rope is applicable.
All right. Okay. I have another curious question lang. So, because whenever something new comes in then in the fitness industry, some people would question or have this question in mind, is it for the long run or is it a fitness fad? So, yeah, how do you determine if something, just for other people's knowledge, how would you determine or say that something is a fitness fad versus something is in it for the long run?
That is a hard question. I
Hindi Pilipinas. Joke lang.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, okay. In terms of cost, Okay, is it expensive? No, it's not. You could use any rope. They've used USB cords to do rope training. A lot of our followers DIY the rope. We even taught how to DIY it using a blanket or a beach towel.
Oh yeah, I saw that on IG. Ano.
Long, okay, if we put a criteria on what will be a long term, what will stick in the culture of fitness, will it cost a lot? No. So I think that will go. Is there a hard learning curve to it? This is a very shallow learning curve. You know, I can guarantee you, you'll learn all patterns in an hour, right? And doesn't matter. And you could be like the most, coordinated person. You will learn it.
Mm-hmm.
And as proof, our followers, none of them, almost 99% of them never had a class. They just followed the free YouTube videos of them.
Mm-hmm.
But Rokas, Optimums, and then David Wing, they're free to learn, almost free to use, and shallow learning curve. But last but not least, is it beneficial or function? Yes, because it is applicable, like I said, to all human function. But the extra caveat to that is, can it get rid of your pain?
Mm.
Some of our followers and some of my patients have said that their like back pain, their shin pain, their knee pain has gone down partly because of row flow. And a lot of them have done a lot of conventional therapies, doctors have taken medication, but yeah, because it fixed their movement, they're moving pain free. And I think that's the one of the key components of making it stick. And it tickles the fancy because the patterns are infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Since we started the IG page, we've been adapted by almost 14 countries. And
Wow.
I lose contact with all of them, and they're posting and reposting, and they're tagging us. And the patterns and the tricks they're coming up with, there's like one a day. There's so many new things you can learn. And
Yeah.
as curious humans, it's not gonna stop.
Mm, true.
Yeah.
Actually, I can see how engaging your community is. So how did you actually parang start that then and sustain the community? Because I see everyone's like posting, very active kayo on Instagram actually. So yeah, how did you grow it?
A lot of time. Well, like for me, I manage the page and I personally reply to each tag and each message and each comment. Um, However short, there's a personal touch to everything that we do. But it does take a lot of effort and a lot of time, but I don't mind because I love it. I love the flow, of the community. I love also, like I said earlier, it's a really good case study. I've been interested in how to develop a following through the Instagram, social media space because it's what's needed right now as a professional. And this platform really emphasized and put into the magnifying glass what you need to do on a micro scale and a macro scale on how to develop a following like this. I mean, at 4 months, 9+ going on 10K, I think that was really amazing with organic, almost no sponsorship, no paid ads. And I thought that was great for a 40-year-old, you know.
Good job.
Yeah, so it's and then there's of course there's other people that have done better, but I'm not, I don't have a background like this. I'm just a therapist. I just like to help people. But what I do have is a business background wherein I know how to organize or develop businesses and really develop a marketing strategy, so to speak, on how to do it. When all these countries ask me like, hey, I want to develop a community like yours, how do I start? So I distill it in two main things. One, you need to get people ropes, as many ropes as possible. However way you do it, make it cheap, make it expensive, I don't care. But number two, you need to be the center of encouragement. You cannot say that you suck. Okay, everyone's amazing, just because they're trying. And I think that kind of steers a lot of positive energy. And then in themselves, they want to be good. And then the posting happens. Because once you give them that self-confidence, especially for Filipinos, I found nahihiya sila mag-post kasi baka magaling, hindi maganda tingnan, and we don't care. You suck, you hit your face. We love that. So, and that's what we were able to, I think, encourage. And that was the face value of what the people see, on their first engagement. Say, wow, I can post anything. It's fine. No
You're
judgment.
not one of those. So you're not like one of those coaches who say you give instructions like, yeah, go lower, lower,
The knees.
lower.
Actually, I am. I am. But it's like, for me, kasi coaching is like having a bike with a lot of gears. You cannot just work on one gear. You need to know when to be nice and when to be strict, or when just to be silent. I mean, that's the key ingredient. And I think that's a sophisticated way to coach. Because really, every coaching experience is never the same. So why would you coach the same? Because everyone, the end user, will never be the same as client 8 o'clock to client 9 o'clock, or to the group 10 o'clock to the group 12 o'clock. Never. And even your mood can be a factor to it. So yeah, for sure. So you have to calibrate yourself. You need to change your gears,
Yeah.
their gears, so that you get from point A to point B with as fastest and the best way possible. So, but yeah, unfortunately, I am a strict coach.
Actually, sa Terumo, that's where I met Arman. Tapos, sa Terumo company, and then he was teaching a circuit class. Tapos yung mga tao parang, oh my God, hanggang gaano pa to katagal? Because like parang, ang dami equipment and stuff. So yeah, I saw that part of you as a coach.
But it's working because they keep coming back for more. Yeah, yeah.
I guess.
So, yeah. Just a note on flow, Arman. So Michele Csikszent Mihalyi is the proponent of the flow theory. He says that people get into flow when they're in the state of concentration and engagement, and they're trying to learn a new skill. And then it's it's what people do, like people who are masters at their craft, right? Tradesmen and just really performers. They get into a state of flow. I can see clearly that in your Instagram, in your posts, and the other people who do rope flow in your community, they really do move in a meditative flow-like manner, and they really concentrate. And just watching you guys move, it's like, okay. And then the backside of me is like, yeah, I'm gonna get slapped in the face if I do that. So yeah, that's what's gonna happen to me. But does anyone ever walk out of your class saying that, oh wow, that was like, aside from the physical, like I finished my project or something after I did a really great speech, and I felt that your class helped me, or I created something after your class, and it wasn't really physical, but it somehow helped mentally.
Well, I work with feedback a lot. I mean, I'm always looking for evidences that my stuff is working, and I'm very impatient with that. That's why I work with a lot of cues. When I used to have a class, and then when I start teaching a pattern, which it does take time and energy and patience to learn, but when they learn it, I see the biggest freaking smile on their face. It's like, I got it, right? And then they're starting to do it themselves, and like I can't stop doing. I'm like, I'm done with my class. 30 minutes later, they're still doing the thing. I can't stop, right? And then it just snowballs into other things. It's like a constant positive reinforcement loop, right? And now with our followers, and when I get feedback from them, it's the same thing. When they, shoot a story of their learning process, and I'll give them a cue or give them a reference, they'll put out the story again, and they'll show me or show everyone that they're improving. I mean, just the act of the courage and confidence for them to show their process is just amazing for me. I would never do that. It's like I'm so subconscious. I'm like, no, I want it perfect the first time. Right? I want everyone to know that I don't make mistakes. But that's just me. So it's just amazing that the courage that I see when they flow and they use the rope with their movement, because a part of our domain of intelligence is kinesthetic sense, and for a lot of us, the modern society, we lose that. We're losing that, and it's sad. It's sad for someone who's in the business of making people move better, making people healthy. I mean, there is a general decline, and it's like it's up to us. I felt responsible to figure out a way to make people move, and there's a lot of good ideas out there. But like you guys said, is it a fad? Can we make it stick? I think there's a formula to it, and I'd like to test that formula. And with you guys, with this podcast, and with your participation, and hopefully your listeners, we can make it grow so that we can make people move. And it doesn't matter. It could be row flow. It could be anything. It could be, you know, uh, drumsticks, the kettlebell, mace bell, but and those things, they all follow the same pattern. So yeah, I guess that answers. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Naman. Okay. So, aside from like row flow, how else do you stay sane during this time? Because I know you wanted also to talk about like about mental health. Like, how is everything with you also? Like, aside from row flow, what else are you into?
okay, so as far as movement practices is concerned, during COVID or during our first ECQ, I also picked up the mace and the kettlebell. So I have this old adjustable 40-pound kettlebell. So I started learning from that from other coaches, and it was fun. So it was the mace bell, the kettlebell, and then the rope flow. That's what I was doing. And on the times that it was allowed to move around in jogs, I was doing a lot of running. Also, um, I did better on diet. It's really, I'm more of an external to internal guy. So I kind of manage what I can manage, like physically, can touch. And then it kind of sunk in. And during this time, I lost 20 pounds. I think I grew hair. I mean, and I just have this energy. And
So younger.
yeah, so it's just me. And then, developing this page, this whole thing. It's more about external to internal, and then putting out stuff, productive stuff, and that kind of gives me that positive feedback. Um, and then I work as an operations manager for sports healthcare facility, so that was a challenge. So the challenges kind of helped me stay sane because now I feel like I have function. No, but when you're at home and you want to do stuff but you can't, you kind of lose your purpose.
Yeah.
This is
You
how
get
I
restricted.
felt, and probably a lot of people do. And it's hard to find that purpose if your self-esteem is tied into your work,
Mm.
right? So I just spread my self-esteem to other areas, my family, just sitting at the dinner table and having a full conversation with my mom and dad, which I didn't do in the past because we are all working. We had like different schedules. I mean, that was just amazing. I find like really nice tidbits of information from my parents when they were my age and when they were younger. like who my mom dated, who my dad dated, stuff like that. Those are just amazing. And then that kept me sane, right? These discoveries. So yeah.
So what advice would you give to those people who are feeling, as you said, restricted right now in their homes, like they can't do what they usually do? Um, how do how would they be able to find their flow in a sense, or yeah, keep sane?
I mean, a lot of how I find and what I've studied is really taking control back, and it can be scaled. And control in a sense is just picking up the toothbrush and brushing your teeth, or just doing an extra stretch after you wake up. And it's those things that you can micromanage, and you do that consistently, and you find insight on those things. You kind of go back, I can brush my teeth better today. Why don't I do 50 calf raises when I'm doing the upper quadrant? So those things. So we really have to kind of go micro manage the small things and find wins on those. And then it kind of builds up. And all of a sudden you're like this amazing, 1 foot toothbrushing guru. Right? And then post it on Instagram. And now you have like 50 followers on you brushing your teeth. Things like that. But kidding aside, it's really just taking control of the small things.
Yes. Focus on things that you can control right
Mhm.
now. More of like that. Cool. Okay. So I know you said also na hindi naman you hate sitting, pero medyo magalaw kang tao. So Arman is here to demo.
All right, do it.
Game.
Hey,
Show us some
give
moves.
me a rope, you should demo with me.
Oh my God, nasa baba. Wait, ikaw
All
na
right.
muna. Mag-repost
Okay,
na ako.
so let me show you the anatomy of the rope.
Cool.
Okay. This is the rope. This is our verde rope. Okay, these are beginner ropes, about 206 grams. And this is the handle, and this is the butt end of the handle, and this is the rope end. So you pull the rope like an OK sign, because the reason why they call it rolling the rope, because the rope rolls on your arm. Becomes the ball bearing, the hinge, versus a jump rope where you have a built-in hinge on the hand, which is great because everything in rope flow is loose. So it starts with the hand. So if you're gripping tight, the rope will twist and you won't complete the pattern. Okay. And also, if your hands are free and loose, you can start to pronate and supinate, which kind of is the impetus of the movement, because it's a wave from the hand, moves to the elbow, and moves to the shoulder, moves to the thoracic spine, then to the hip. Like I said, we do 2 movements. First one, a figure of 8s. Okay, underhand. So this is an underhand. I see I'm doing a figure of 8s. That you can hit the ground, or you can keep it up. You can go fast or slow. You can extend, go low, the lunge, and you can go just about anywhere you want. You see there's a figure 8, right? And you can stay at one side. This would be a called matador stool, right? And same thing, you could cross more. You can cross to your shoulder. You can cross behind the head. Okay. And do a sneak, like that. Okay, so you kind of need space. So this is really good for social distancing.
True.
Right, so once you get to the Matador's wheel, then the famous dragon roll. So it's going the front to the back of me. And you can turn from left to right, becomes right to left. Turn again. There you go. It's really great because you really have to move your whole body. Now, the last pattern is the sneak. So it's like a cross between that figure eight and the dragon roll. Then go around to the backside and does this. You outfit.
Bakit itsura ni Joy? Parang, kaya ko ba yan?
It's really, like I said, I promise. I'll give you guys a lesson for 1 hour. Okay?
Oh my God, I'm curious how Joy would do it.
Yeah, I bet you are, girl.
Two patterns, overhand, underhand. So that's 4 total in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You
Wow.
will love.
Ano siya?
Your
Parang
standard for that's an hour. Mine will be like 2 hours then.
Well, we gotta have some goals though. I mean, I have to put like a pressure component to this.
Mhm.
At least that's how I coach. Like, okay, do it in 20. You gotta do it in 20. Because focus is a big part of flowing. That's the reason why that's how you separate everything else from what you're doing.
Yeah.
So parang you're gonna master one pattern first before you can proceed to the next. Is it like that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So parang you can't proceed to the next pattern. Ito ka lang if like di mo pa na-master.
Well, I can't say you can't, but I will say that the outcomes will be not as desirable. And what's going to happen, kind of like what happened to me, I was very impatient. I did not master all the movements right away. I started September. There was this one move that's called the underhand sneak. I only learned that 3 months ago. And, that was like a 10-month difference. I was doing a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
But then it wasn't a complete kind of basic pattern training. But then, who's making the rules? you, can, you can master 2 patterns in flow if that's what makes you happy.
Yes.
It's all for it. All
How
right?
many patterns are there? All in
There's
all.
4 basic patterns.
Or
I'll show again. So there's the race and chase. This is an overhand. So like I said, everything is a 2 pattern, an overhand and underhand. It's an overhand, race and chase. Go figure 8. And then a matador's wheel. You do a propeller on one side and a race and chase. This, by the way, is a propeller, and you're just going on one side. And then the dragon roll. That's 4. And the last would be the
cool. And it's
talking. I was just going from one pattern to the other. And it's connecting those. It kind
of stationary then, or do you walk? Or I mean, can you explore?
Yes, you can do both. You can. I started learning better with walking. I associated with ambulation, so I'm not sure if you can see this, but I can. Really good. It's just making steps, and it's just more natural for me. So most of my flow, I guess, post, I'm always moving versus, let's say, if you've seen a post of banana, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can stay in one place, like he's the one in one spot, and he just pivots around.
Yeah.
I'm more of like moving forward. Yani, one of our really good flowers, and she does more of the walking also. 5 is more ordinary.
Yes. You do jumping as well?
You can, yes. You can jump with it. Although the jumping component, I would say it's more of a level 3 or 4. on
Mm.
rope flow because
Mhm.
it's very coordinated. Because
Yeah.
you have to sustain the flow and get to the next pattern with the
Mhm.
jump. The jumping per se, a plyometric movement, it is a high neurological demand movement.
Mhm.
There's a big neurological, let's say, capacity that you need to have before you get into the jump. But
Thanks for
you know,
sharing that.
what's
That was
that?
beautiful.
Oh,
That was, thanks for sharing that, our
yeah,
guest here.
yes. And I'd like to share it more. And I want to invite you guys to start getting a rope and start flowing with us. And we're trying to wherever it's available or it's allowed. We usually meet up in some park somewhere.
Yeah, in Alabang, right?
Yeah, Cuenca Park. Yeah.
Okay. Kaso nag-MECQ na ulit. So parang maybe pag naano na ulit.
I can see on their community page that it's okay to jog around.
Ah, yeah. Hmm.
Bawal lang gamitin yun. Tennis court, basketball court.
Gets.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay.
Even swimming, you can do
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, hopefully we can do it like in a live session soon. Diba, Joy? Woo!
Yes.
Yeah, any
I see the hesitation in Joy's eye. Like,
No, I'm down. I'm down if Ned is down too.
oh,
dami lagi.
Yep, it has to be the three of us. Yeah.
do
We
it.
already know who's gonna suck at the most, okay? Let's face it, that's me. So yeah, let's do
Bakit
it.
naman?
No, no, no. Not if I can help. It's funny. Okay, so I'll tell you a story. I had someone ask me to do a online instruction for them, coaching, and I didn't know it was two of them together, like in one screen,
Oh, okay.
right? And it was funny because both of them obviously has only done rope for like 1 week. Just bought the rope a week ago, and at that time, and then but was as I was coaching them, they have two different tendencies. One found one pattern easier versus the other, and the same things. So for me as a coach was kind of interesting because okay, you stop, stay there, and then you do this because you do this better, and then watch her because you suck at that. I didn't say suck, but like, watch her be inspired. Okay. So it was like the differences in their skill set and their tendencies kind of complemented. And then at the end of that 1 hour session, they were like, "Hey, Coach Arman, I'm able to do this and this, and I can do it." So it's not impossible.
Hmm.
Not impossible. People can learn.
So you do online classes for rope?
Yeah, yeah. I'm starting to. I'm starting to. I'm not certified with the wet method or any way. It's just more of a community service, I guess. But it's just people who just because I hate when I use the term hate because I hate when it's for something that makes me happy is
Mm.
making them miserable. But they want to be happy, but just miserable. Like, come on, let me help you. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, share.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nice.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, any other questions from Joy before we tap it off?
No,
No?
no. Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to
I,
doing
I I
it.
have a
Yeah, live.
question. I have a question. When are we gonna do our first session?
Ako, G lang. Depende ka lang, Joy.
Yeah, that's offline.
That's all.
um, yeah, I'll answer that after this recording is done.
Yes, yes. Safe answer.
GG. Okay. Yeah. We usually actually end our episode with this question. So we'd like for you to answer it. How do you grit and then how do you ground?
Ah.
Huh?
Oh, I was,
Hotdog. Joke lang.
I was surprised there. So, but can you clarify what you mean by grit? Like,
So it actually depends on how you interpret it with the word itself. So we don't want to feed them. Um,
okay, okay. So
grit.
I'll interpret it like the autonomic nervous system.
Wow.
What is sympathetic and a parasympathetic response for me?
Okay. Cool.
Right. The grit will be the sympathetic or the fight and flight, and then the parasympathetic will be rest and digest. Right. So what makes me grit? I think challenges, like any kind. It's something that I feel like I can do, like close to impossible. Then I'll try it. I'm more of a movement explorer. I'm never an expert on anything, but it's like I have very low standards in terms of performance and excellence. Like, okay, I can do it. What's next? Right? But it keeps me more, I guess, versatile. I can relate to a lot of things. What makes me grounded, I guess, sleep. I mean, for more intensive purposes, is just the act of not doing anything and letting the body do its work. And every ritual that gets me to sleep, whether reading a good book, prayer, a nice sweat, a good dinner, a
Mhm.
cup of tea, nothing fancy, but yeah, whatever gets me to sleep is ground, and whatever gets me curious and challenged is my grit.
Yes.
Love
Yes.
it.
Palakpan. Thanks so much for sharing. Anything that you want to plug or any upcoming, I guess, online classes that you want to promote?
Okay, well, I do want, okay, first I want to promote the practice of rope. Anyone can do it. And it doesn't need to be a fancy rope. It could be any kind of cordage. And just follow our page, Rope Flow Philippines, and on Instagram and Facebook. We have amazing content there coming from local and foreign rope flow artists from around the world. It's amazing. We're adopted by 11 countries, and we're getting amazing contents from all of our rope brothers and sisters from around the planet. It's so exciting. We are also launching our new line of heavier 12 millimeter 440 to 460 gram rope. We call it our Alamat series, and it's gonna be launched on Sunday.
Wow.
9 o'clock p.m. So stay tuned. There's a story behind every rope. It's very Philippine heritage based. We got to represent our country because the whole world is watching. Apparently, the rope flow community is biggest in the PI, Philippines, and everyone everywhere is trying to get their community bigger, if not bigger than ours. And we are so happy just to be part of that influence. And also, thank you for you guys. I want to plug Grit and Ground. Guys, listen to this channel. All right? You guys have the best guest and the best host and the best sound engineer, Ned.
True.
Joined us in the future. And then it's amazing. I listened to some of your podcasts. Some of the people I knew from the fitness industry had guests with, like Nikki and then Nat, and they're just amazing people. I'm just glad to be part of that amazing hierarchy of growth flows or fitness superstars. It's,
Yeah, thank you. We had fun talking to you today, and thanks for sharing. Yeah, your eagerness then to build this community. Super wow.
thank you, thank
Okay.
you.
So yeah, that's Arman, everyone, and check out their page. This is Grit and Ground episode 6. Keep gritting and grounding, everyone, and be well.
Thank you.